Hello, this is Sarita, and I'm here to help you understand the truth about who you are. Now, one of the truths about our reality is that there are, in fact, two ways of manifesting our desires consciously. And I think it's really important to understand what these two ways are and how they work, because I believe that acquiring the skill of consciously manifesting is imperative if we are to ascend in our consciousness on this planet and move into a higher level of reality that serves all of us. So I believe that part of the lessons of coming here is so that we can understand ourselves as creational beings, so that we become empowered and really begin to create our realities from a heart-centered, loving, conscious place, rather than an unconscious place, which is rooted in fear, control, and manipulation. And at the moment, all over the internet, there are so many people teaching about manifesting and law of attraction and how you create your reality. And I think this is brilliant. But I think there's a lot of confusion around this. And that's because of the two ways of creating your reality. So in brief, one way to create your reality is to use the matrix system that we are in. And another way to create your reality is to transcend the matrix, perceiving yourself as the all that is, and create from there. And there are pros and cons to both of these methods. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you a little bit more about both, and hopefully it will become a bit clearer to you about the potential that you have to create and how the matrix is affecting your potential to create or not. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to talk mostly about conscious creation. So conscious creation is when you literally actively choose and focus upon a desire and bring it into being in your reality. And obviously, its opposite is unconscious creation. And that's when your unconscious thoughts or your deep subconscious is creating your reality without your conscious awareness, without your presence and realization of what's creating your reality. And I'll give you an example of this. Let's say you really want to be wealthy and have abundance and not worry about money anymore. But you were brought up by your parents in a mindset of poverty and hard work, and money is difficult to come by. So although you consciously desire to have abundance, what might be running the show of your reality is this deep unconscious program that was instilled within you at birth, that is a program of lack. Okay. Now, the thing is that the unconscious mind is a bigger brain. It's a bigger supercomputer. And the conscious mind is a much smaller computer. So when we're running our manifesting unconsciously, those patterns and habits and influences and beliefs really can run the show very easily unless you bring them into conscious awareness. Now, how this works in terms of manifesting within the matrix is that basically you need to bring it all the way back to the understanding that we are in a holograph. Our reality as solid matter is actually an illusion. And this has been proven scientifically. That's it. In all of the atoms of in all of the cells and atoms of our bodies, basically, we're mostly made up of space and information. There's hardly any material to us at all. Okay. So everything that you're looking at, and that's the same for all objects that you're looking at, everything that you're looking at in this reality is basically like a laser light show. It's a holograph. And a holograph has this aspect that every part of the holograph contains the whole holograph, no matter how small a part you take or how big a part you take. It's basically an imaginal repetition going bigger and bigger and bigger and smaller and smaller and smaller. So basically, there's a microcosmic, macrocosmic aspect to it. So in other words, all of the parts of the holograph are entangled with one another. So that means everything's interconnected. Now, when I talk about the matrix on this planet, what I'm saying is that the holograph, you need to imagine it like this, the holograph is encapsulated within a mesh. So an entangled mesh, if you like a wire mesh, you know, obviously it's not made of wire, but basically there's lots of points where everything crosses and connects. And it's the way or look at it, like, imagine it like a three-dimensional globe all around you, and everything's interconnected with this mesh. Okay. And the mesh is made of light and information and frequency. So there are two aspects to our holograph. There's the matrix aspect, which is the real aspect of the holograph, or it's the more, if you like, natural aspect of the holograph. And it holds us in the holograph. I'm not going to go into why we're here. That's a whole nother conversation. But basically, we're held in this holograph through our connection or our interconnectedness with this mesh. And the mesh contains all of the light frequency information or memory fields or ideas or thoughts around how this holograph looks. And basically, we're all connected into that mesh. And I believe that we are connected into that mesh through our heart centers. Okay. So we are entangled in this mesh, and together we are actively assisting in creating and holding the imagery or the ideas or the realities around this holograph all together. Okay. And what I think and feel creates my reality. But my thoughts and feelings, which are basically the control center of this holographic reality, are interconnected to yours through the wire mesh. So that's how we get whole momentums of things happening on this planet. And obviously, the C word era that we just came out of is a really obvious one. Or you could look at like the hippie movement, or any kind of massive momentum that takes over the world. You can really see it clearly how we're all entangled. Or this is how fashions or fads come through, or even videos go viral, or just on any level, we're all entangled and we've created our reality. We're creating the reality together. It's why we can all look at the sky and go, it's blue, or why we can look and say, oh, the sea is over there, because we're all entangled and sharing this laser light show of information. Now, overlaying that mesh, that matrix, that natural matrix, is another matrix. There are actually two other matrices, but I'm not going to go into those. If you want to hear about those, I'll put a link to another video. But basically, imagine there's another matrix overlaying that. And it's an inverted matrix. It's a corrupted matrix, which is being controlled by forces, alien, so in other words, not human, alien forces that have, if you like, a negative agenda towards humanity and towards this planet. That's a whole nother topic. I'm not even going to go into that now. And in fact, what I see is, like I've just said, there's actually two inverted matrix meshes. Okay, so it's like a double inverted trap, really. One is kind of encompassing the whole, and the other one, if you get through that matrix, is basically the false light matrix. So there's this double mesh, and it's inverted or it's corrupted. So in other words, the laser light frequency information of the second mesh is designed to control us, to control our thoughts and feelings, so that as we entangle, we, if you like, download and create the imaginal space of this reality in a way that serves the agenda of the people who are controlling that inverted matrix, not people, the forces that are controlling that inverted matrix. So we're basically within the matrices, if you like, that hold the holographic whole of our reality. So when it comes to manifesting, the first way to manifest is to manifest using the grid-like structure of either matrix. And in order to be able to manifest using this structure consciously, so in other words, choosing from your present mind what your actual desires are, and generally they're going to be things that are lovely and good for you and good for the planet, you've got to be aware of the fact that there is this matrix or matrices holding us. And the way that you use these matrices is you expand your perception, you do your inner work and whatever it takes, and you begin to perceive that there's an energetic, holographic aspect to our world. And then what you begin to do is you begin to use the matrix and the ideas and the imaginal aspects of everyone, the whole entangled, mesh of it, to create consciously your desires. And I had a really good understanding, profound understanding of this last night, because the inverted matrix is basically connected through the mind. So the natural matrix is through the heart center, and the inverted matrix is through the mind. So we can really see this because as a species, we've kind of been indoctrinated into believing that the mind is the most important thing, that intellectualizing and analytical thought is the dominant motif, if you like, for our way of being on this planet now. The mind is kind of revered, and the heart has been kind of left behind as like some kind of wishy-washy thing that we don't really need, and it's a bit romantic and ineffectual. And obviously the inverse is true. And so basically the inverted matrix is connecting or entangling all of us with this mesh through the minds, and that's being controlled by these external forces, as I've said. So once you perceive this inverted matrix, or the double layer of that inverted matrix, you consciously to shift and start working with the matrix that is enmeshed through your heart, which is a much more natural and beneficial matrix for not only your well-being and having your heart's desires realized, but for the well-being of the whole and the planet. Because this matrix uses, and the matrix of your heart uses love. So really, when people are teaching manifesting, and particularly the things like the law of attraction and visualize, daydream about what you want and all of those kind of manifesting skills, what you're doing or what they're doing is they're teaching you to become consciously aware of the reality that you're in, the matrix that you're in, and using it to your advantage consciously. Now, obviously, you've got to become conscious in order to use the matrices for conscious creation. Because if you're not conscious, then the unconscious programs are going to create your reality. And I'm just going to say here, I know this is a lot of information, but you are creating your reality in entanglement with everyone else. There's no other way that we can create this holographic reality. There's just no other way. It is you creating it. And basically, you need to look at it as if you are the center of your own universe or the center of your own reality. So really the question is, are you creating it unconsciously or are you creating it consciously? And if we didn't have this second inverted matrix, there would be a lot of unconscious things being creative that were really being created that would be really beautiful and amazing from the natural matrix, because I believe that we're here to experience our senses, our five senses, okay? And to understand that we are creators. But the idea is that spirit can come into this body, which appears to be physical, and we can have these sensory experiences upon this planet. So if we were just creating unconsciously from the natural matrix, it would be a far more beautiful, heart-centered planet. And I think a lot of people are going for, in terms of manifesting, going back into that natural matrix. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And that's brilliant. And let's do that. That's great. But obviously, if we're creating unconsciously from this secondary matrix, we're going to be creating from fear. And we can all see how that's playing out with all the mind control games and, you know, all of the way that we've created, all of us take responsibility. We've created these systems that really are not benefiting mankind in any way, shape, or form, but benefiting the external forces that wish to control us. So to reiterate, most people are working with the these matrices to manifest consciously. But there is a second way to manifest your heart's desire. And that is to perceive this other aspect of you, this secondary aspect of you, which is also the truth of who you are, which is that you are the all that is, oneness. Because who are you beyond the matrices? Who are you beyond the holographic reality, illusion aspect of this earth or this universe that you find yourself in? And at the end of the day, what you are is one with everything else and everything else, even all of the perceived evil or opposing forces that we find ourselves with upon this planet. Now, bear in mind, this planet is functions with duality or polarity, these opposites all of the time. And that friction is what allows you to rise from unconscious to conscious. So a lot of the time, it's the pain and suffering that we keep unconsciously programming and creating our imaginal space with that causes us to really try and understand the nature of this reality and to rise above that and become conscious creative beings. So, and then the oneness obviously is not rooted in duality. So we are both. There is this tiny individuated aspect of us that is assisting in the whole holograph. And then there is this much bigger creator aspect of us, which is connected to the all that is. And obviously, if you can expand your consciousness from deep unconscious into conscious matrix creation, and then to move through that into oneness, then you are manifesting on a whole nother level, because then you are, if you like, outside and within the matrix simultaneously. You're perceiving it consciously, and you can manifest from that. So those are the two different ways of manifesting. And obviously, there are pros and cons to manifesting in these two ways. I mean, it sounds like being in oneness, there's no cons to it, but I mean, there's no cons to it. But the difficulty with it is it's harder to get there, because it takes a lot of effort, and it really takes being able to completely see the truth of reality, and to leave behind all of the suffering and indoctrination that we are absolutely embedded in, and to be able to go into oneness and perceive yourself as individuated at the same time takes an extraordinary amount of effort, probably a huge existential crisis. And in terms of, shamanic training, facing death many, many times, till you could understand what death truly is. It's just like this cycle within the matrix. So that's, if you like, the con to being able to manifest from oneness. It's going to take an awful lot of incarnations and time to get there. And I don't think for many of us, we can even perceive what that would feel like. But the closest thing I would say that it feels like is it's that state of bliss that some of us sometimes get to. And this is why I teach the seventh sense, the void, the pre-creational state. Because when we're locked in the holographic world or reality, we're working with our five senses. When we're, if you like, unconscious, and sometimes we're not even really feeling those properly. But once we start working with our sixth sense, that allows us to perceive the matrices that we are in. But when you get to the seventh sense, the void, which is a natural sense of who you are, you can work with this. It's your sense. When you get to that sense of the void, you start to perceive omnipresence and oneness, basically, and yourself as in this voided pre-creational state where you can manifest at any moment. And so there are a lot of teachers out there trying to get people into this state of being, and it's harder, but it does work. But then there are a lot of teachers out there who are teaching the law of attraction and coming into your heart center. And what that's teaching people to do is to drop into their heart centers and manifest from that matrix aspect. So that realization that there's an interconnected, entangled web-like structure upon this planet, which is affecting the holographic reality of our world. And it really doesn't take many people to be manifesting consciously to change our reality, because that manifesting power it's super efficient, basically. But there are also loads of people teaching manifesting from this aspect. And there's a massive, you've got a massive force against you if you're trying to manifest through the mind matrix. So you can't just use your mind to manifest. Well, you can, but it's going to take a lot of, it's really going to take a lot of your energy to manifest like that. So I think we need to be aware of these two ways of manifesting. Well, really, it's three ways of manifesting, but one of them is manifesting within either matrix. One of them is manifesting as oneness. And so what I perceive happens is people start to manifest using their minds, then they begin to manifest using their hearts. That expands their awareness even more. And this is using the sixth sense, our extrasensory perception that there is a matrix and a holographic universe. And then finally, we become enlightened and we begin to manifest working with oneness. And all of these things are really working with frequency, light frequency information. And all of them, and the level of all of them, are about our ability to open our eyes, to open our perceptions and expand them to such a point that we begin to perceive the truth of these levels of reality. And so I really wanted to share this information because I think it can be confusing, and obviously lots of us are, you know, me included, are trying to get to this level of oneness, and sometimes we even make it there for a second or two and we can feel it and perceive it. But on the whole, we're manifesting from within the matrix. And actually, like I said, there's really no harm in manifesting from within the matrix. It's a brilliant practice. It expands your perception and it brings your desires into fruition, which is important, and particularly important for humanity if your desires are coming from your heart center. And as we start to work with our sixth sense in the matrix, what's happening is that you've activated your five senses to a level where you're really feeling this reality. You're feeling this reality from an embodied way of being. So you're now working with six senses. But I also perceive, and I've alluded to this in other videos, that we have this eighth sense that we can embody. And what I believe that is oneness of the seventh sense pulled into this bodily vessel, and we then emit a signal of oneness from within the body that is affecting not only the matrices and everyone and everything upon this planet, but the whole kit and caboodle of creation as well. And that's why I think human beings are special, because we have this ability to bring the voided state into the body vessel and create from that. And when you do that, the eighth sense is working with thermodynamic free energy, which is an infinite energy source, basically. And that's pure creational energy. And I feel like we are moving slowly but surely towards this state of being. And I don't know how that's going to be, but I believe it to be a very sensual, embodied state. So in other words, you'll be working with the eight senses. You would be feeling the eight senses within the body vessel and creating our planetary expression from that. So actually, I've just now told you that there's another way of manifesting. That's another way. So I hope that's offered a little bit of clarity to all of you. I hope it's been interesting. And if you think this information is important, and if you would like to, please do share it. And I'm going to do another video actually about how to manifest effectively using the matrix. So in other words, using that entangled light web connection, so that if that's the stage that you're at, you can start working with that. Just work where you are and keep going, and your perception will expand. So thank you very much for listening. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and sending you all lots of love.